I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. What's up, you guys? It's the BA. Today we're going to be talking about engineering in South Africa. If you have or are planning to get a certificate, a diploma, or a degree in any engineering field, watch this video to find out about the different professional titles that you can apply for with the Engineering Council of South Africa. There are a number of categories and titles in the engineering space, and I'll be going over as many of them as I can by explaining what each one of them means and how you can attain them. Firstly, what is engineering? Engineering is the practice of science, engineering science, and technology concerned with the solution of problems of economic importance and those essential to the progress of society. Solutions are reliant on basic scientific, mathematical, and engineering knowledge. Solutions rely on analysis and synthesis underpinned by sound techno-economic analysis. Solutions must take into account the needs of society, sustainability, and the protection of the physical environment. Engineering work requires management and communication and must be conducted ethically and within the bounds of applicable legislation. So what is the Engineering Council of South Africa? That is the ECSA. The ECSA is a statutory body established in terms of the Engineering Profession Act of the year 2000. The ECSA's primary role is the regulation of the engineering profession in terms of this act. Its core functions are the accreditation of engineering programs, the registration of persons as professionals in specified categories, which I will elaborate on momentarily, and the regulation of the practice of registered persons. Consequently, the ECSA is the only body in South Africa that is authorized to register engineering professionals and bestow the use of engineering titles such as professional engineer, professional engineering technologist, and a whole lot more on persons who have met the requisite professional registration criteria. The ECSA can register persons in certain prescribed categories of registration. The categories are professionals, candidates, and specified categories. Professional is divided into the following: professional engineer, professional engineering technologist, professional certificated engineer, and professional engineering technician. Candidate is divided into candidate engineer, candidate engineering technologist, candidate certificated engineer, and candidate engineering technician. And when it comes to specified categories, this category provides for the registration of persons who cannot register in the professional category, but who perform critically important work of an engineering nature which has a direct impact on public safety and health. For example, lift inspectors. So now we're going to look into how you can attain these titles. During these in-depth explanations, I'm going to refer to ECSA accredited qualifications. These are engineering degrees and qualifications that are approved by the ECSA. Most, if not all, public universities and colleges offer engineering qualifications that are accredited by the ECSA. If you're concerned about this, especially for private universities and colleges, just ask at the application offices if the engineering qualification you're applying for or that you're enrolled in is in fact accredited by the ECSA. Like I said earlier on, the ECSA is responsible for the accreditation of engineering programs. If your qualification isn't ECSA accredited, there's no need to panic. I'll address what you need to do later on in this video. So firstly, we're going to look at the candidate engineer. Registration as a candidate engineer requires only an educational achievement that can be demonstrated in either one of the following ways. 1. Holding a Bachelor of Engineering or a Bachelor of Science in Engineering type qualification or a combination of qualifications accredited by the ECSA. 2. Holding a qualification recognized by the ECSA because it is accredited by a signatory to the Washington Accord. 3. Holding a qualification or combination of qualifications evaluated by the ECSA as meeting its standard. Or 4. Undergoing individual assessment approved by the ECSA. This option is yet to be phased in. Now, a person who holds an ECSA accredited Bachelor of Engineering or Bachelor of Science in Engineering type qualification or a Washington Accord qualification may apply directly for registration as a candidate engineer by either one of the following methods. 1. An application on paper submitted using an application form that can be found on the ECSA website. You'll obviously have to select the candidate engineer form from the options presented. You then need to complete the proof of identity and declaration form and sign it before a commissioner of oaths. The applicant would also need to attach certified copies of their original degree certificates and academic record or transcript to the form. If these are not in English, a certified translation must also be attached. You then need to pay the application fee and email proof of payment to the email address provided on the website. The alternative is to make an online application on the ECSA online website. Obtain a login and select the Candidate Engineer option. You'll then be prompted to provide personal information, certified copies of degree certificates and transcripts with translations if not in English, and you'll need to upload the completed proof of identity and declaration form. You will then be prompted to pay the application fee. If the method of payment is not a credit card, proof of payment must be uploaded. If you do not hold an ECSA accredited Bachelor of Engineering or Bachelor of Science in Engineering type qualification, or a Washington Accord qualification, you will need to apply for educational evaluation. Once you have undergone educational evaluation and have been judged to meet the educational requirements, you may then apply for registration using the methods I just explained above. The assessment process starts when the application is complete, including payment of the application fee. The applicant's qualification or qualifications are checked to confirm that they are either accredited or recognized. If the application passes this check, the applicant will be registered as a candidate engineer, and they will be advised by letter and will be issued a registration certificate. The applicant will then be liable for pro rata payment of the annual registration fee and will be recognized as a candidate engineer. If the application fails this check, the applicant will be advised to apply for educational evaluation. Now let's look at the title of professional engineer. An applicant for registration as a professional engineer must meet the following two requirements. 1. The educational requirements identical to those for candidate engineer. That is, an ECSA accredited Bachelor of Engineering or Bachelor of Science in Engineering type qualification, or a Washington Accord Bachelor of Engineering or Bachelor of Science in Engineering type qualification. And they must demonstrate competency against standards determined by the ECSA Council. These competency standards are slightly complicated to explain, but the best way to summarize it is that you need about 3 years of relevant engineering experience. So in these 3 years, you must have been exposed to numerous aspects of engineering like design, project management, maintenance, and so on and so on. I found a pretty decently put together 13-page document that properly covers what you need to know in relation to the competency standards required to become a professional engineer. I'll put a link to that document in the description of this video so you can look at it once you're done watching this video. There are two options for submitting your application. 1. Prepare and submit a paper-based application including the following supporting documents. If not already registered as a candidate engineer or completed educational evaluation, you need to attach certified copies of your original degree certificates and the academic record or transcript along with the form. If these are not in English, a certified translation must be attached as well. You'll also need training and experience summary, training and experience reports, engineering report, initial professional development report, proof of membership of or application made to a recognized voluntary association, proof of identity and declaration form signed before Commissioner of Oaths, and you need to pay the application fee and email the proof of payment. The second option of submitting your application is to make an online application on the ECSA website. So you log in and select the professional engineer option, and then you'll be prompted to provide information and documents as listed above for the paper-based application. You will also be prompted to pay the application fee, and if the method of payment you want to use is not a credit card, proof of payment must be uploaded. The assessment process starts when the application is complete, including the payment of the application fee. If necessary, the qualification or qualifications are checked to confirm that they are accredited, recognized, or that you have completed the education requirements. If the application fails this check, you'll be advised to apply for educational evaluation. If the application passes this check, the assessment proceeds. The first stage of assessment is the experience appraisal. This is a desktop evaluation by peer reviewers to determine whether the application documentation indicates that the applicant is competent to the standard. If the application passes this hurdle, the next step is the professional review, which is an interactive assessment in the form of a short presentation by the applicant and an interview by 2 peer reviewers. The reviewers recommend to the Professional Advisory Committee for the discipline that the applicant has demonstrated competence or has not. The PAC may decide to register the applicant or defer consideration of the application for up to 12 months to allow the applicants to make up for shortfalls in competence. Such a deferment may be granted twice, but no more. The PAC may recommend to the Engineers Registration Committee and the Central Registration Committee that the application be refused. If the application does not pass the experience appraisal hurdle, it is referred to the discipline PAC to determine the next step, including seeking more information from the applicant or deferring the application. Once the PAC has decided to register the applicant will be registered as a professional engineer. They'll be informed via a letter and the registration certificate issued. The applicants will then be liable for pro rata payment of an annual registration fee, with pro rata refund of the candidate annual fee if they are registered as such. On registration as a professional engineer, the registration as a candidate engineer will be cancelled if the applicant was so registered, and thus the applicants will be recognized as a professional engineer. If you are holding or pursuing an engineering qualification that isn't a degree, such as a diploma, or if you have an engineering qualification that isn't accredited by the ECSA, then you obviously notice that to become either a candidate or a professional engineer, I specifically mentioned the need for ECSA accredited degrees. There is no need to panic. If you hold an engineering qualification that isn't a degree or that isn't ECSA accredited, you can still apply to be a candidate or a professional engineer. The only difference is that during your application, you will need to first apply for educational evaluation and then specify to the ECSA that you are following the alternate route strategy. In this alternate route strategy, the ECSA is going to assess your educational standing, so they are going to review your qualification and your portfolio of evidence, and then they will determine if you qualify for the category that you have applied for. You do not need any additional experience in comparison to a regular applicant. Now let's look at candidate engineering technologists. An application for registration as a candidate engineering technologist, previously known as an engineering technologist in training, only requires certified proof that the applicant holds an accredited Bachelor of Technology in Engineering degree obtained at a University of Technology. If an applicant holds a foreign qualification, certified copies of the qualification must be submitted, as well as an academic record reflecting all the subjects taken and passed during all the years of study, as well as the in-service training component of the qualification, along with the Assessment of Foreign Qualifications form. The ECSA will assess the application for completeness and, if so, evaluate the academic qualification. If the application is incomplete, the candidate is advised of any shortcomings which must be rectified as soon as possible. The ECSA requires, as the baseline qualification, a Bachelor of Technology degree in engineering or a Master's Diploma of Technology in Engineering, obtained from a South African technikon, and which has been accredited by the ECSA. A qualification assessed by ECSA to be equivalent will also be recognized. Once an applicant's academic qualification is recognized, the applicant is registered as a candidate engineering technologist, and the candidate is advised in writing of their registration, and a certificate of registration is prepared and posted to them as soon as possible. Individuals who were registered as engineering technologists in training in terms of the Engineering Profession Act of 1990 are deemed to be registered as candidate engineering technologists in terms of Act 46 of the year 2000. Now let's look at professional engineering technologist. The requirements are a Bachelor of Technology in Engineering or a Master's Diploma of Technology degree obtained at a University of Technology, or someone who's already registered as a candidate engineering technologist. If in either of the above categories, you will not be subjected to a detailed evaluation of your qualifications when applying to be a professional engineering technologist. The second requirement is 3 years of post-qualification training and experience. Now, the assessment process is as follows. An application is administratively checked for completeness. If incomplete, the applicant is advised of the deficiency, which must be rectified as soon as possible. Assuming that an applicant's qualification is recognized, the process of evaluating the applicant's training and experience starts. The number of applications received every month are referred to a subcommittee responsible for the discipline relevant to an applicant's education, training, and experience. The members of these committees advise the administration of their findings and recommendations, and the files are prepared for discussions at the meetings. If a committee is unanimous in finding an applicant as registerable, the committee's decision is reported to the next meeting of the Registration Committee for Professional Engineering Technologists. If successful, the applicant is immediately registered and the applicant is advised accordingly. It is important to note that persons who were registered as professional technologists in engineering, in terms of the Engineering Profession Act of 1990, are deemed to be registered as professional engineering technologists in terms of Act 46 of the year 2000. Now, if you're finding this video informative so far, hit the like button. If you want to see more content from the channel, feel free to subscribe. Now we're going to have a look at candidate certificated engineers. An application for registration as a candidate certificated engineer only requires certified proof that the applicant holds a recognized certificate of competency referred to below. That's all. So if an applicant holds a foreign qualification or certification comparable to the South African equivalent, certified copies must be submitted of the qualification, as well as an academic record reflecting all the subjects taken and passed during all the years of study and the training or experience and processes leading to the award of the certification in that country. Now, the assessment process is as follows. The ECSA will assess the application for completeness and, if so, evaluate the academic qualification. If the application is incomplete, the candidate is advised of any shortcomings which must be rectified as soon as possible. So now here's a list of examples of certificates of competency. These, or their equivalent, will be required to be able to apply for the candidate certificated engineer title. We have a certificate of competency mechanical for occupational health and safety, a certificate of competency electrical for occupational health and safety, a COC mechanical for mine health and safety, a COC electrical for mine health and safety, a COC mine manager for mine health and safety metalliferous, a COC mine manager for mine health and safety coal, and a COC marine engineer for merchant shipping first class. Once an applicant's academic qualification is recognized, the applicant is registered as a candidate certificated engineer, and candidates are advised in writing of their registration, and a certificate of registration is prepared and posted to them as soon as possible thereafter. It is important to note that persons who were registered as certificated engineers in training in terms of the Engineering Profession Act of 1990 are deemed to be registered as candidate certificated engineers in terms of Act 46 of the year 2000. And now let's look at professional certificated engineers. The application requirements are a recognized certificate of competency or someone who's already registered as a candidate certificated engineer. The assessment process is as follows. An application is administratively checked for completeness, and if incomplete, the applicant is advised of their deficiency, which must be rectified as soon as possible. Assuming that an applicant's qualification is recognized, the process of evaluating an applicant's training and experience starts. The applications received are submitted to the members of the registrations committee for professional certificated engineers in time for the next meeting. The members of this committee advise the administration of their findings and recommendations, and the files are prepared for discussion at the forthcoming meeting. At a scheduled meeting, the committee members discuss each application, and if the committee is unanimous in finding that an applicant meets the requirements, the committee decides to register the applicant, and the decision is reported to the next meeting of the Central Registration Committee. Meanwhile, the registration is immediately effected by the administration, and the applicant is advised accordingly. If the committee is not satisfied that an applicant meets the requirements of registration, the committee may make the following decisions. 1. Refuse if the deficiencies are serious. 2. Defer for a maximum of 1 year to enable the applicant to rectify the deficiencies. Or 3. Offer registration as a candidate certificated engineer if the applicant is not already registered as such. Once again, it's important to note that a person who is registered as a registered certificated engineer in terms of the Engineering Profession Act of 1990 is deemed to be registered as a professional certificated engineer in terms of Act 46 of the year 2000. Now we're going to look at candidate engineering technicians. An application for registration as a candidate engineering technician only requires certified proof that the applicant holds a recognized or accredited academic qualification, which is a national diploma in engineering obtained at a university of technology. If an applicant holds a foreign qualification, certified copies of the qualification must be submitted, as well as an academic record reflecting all the subjects taken and passed during all the years of study, as well as the in-service training component of the qualification. The assessment process is as follows. The ECSA will assess the application for completeness and, if so, evaluate the academic qualification. If the application is incomplete, the candidate is advised of any shortcomings which must be rectified as soon as possible. As mentioned, the ECSA requires, as the baseline qualification, a national diploma in engineering obtained from a South African technikon, and which has been accredited by the ECSA. A qualification assessed by the ECSA to be equivalent will also be recognized. Once an applicant's academic qualification is recognized, the applicant is registered as a candidate engineering technician. Candidates are advised in writing of their registration, and a certificate of registration is prepared and posted to them as soon as possible. Persons who were registered as engineering technicians in training in terms of Act 114 of 1990 are deemed to be registered as candidate engineering technicians in terms of Act 46 of the year 2000. Lastly, we're going to look at professional engineering technicians. An application for registration as a professional engineering technician only requires certified proof that the applicant holds a recognized or accredited academic qualification, which is a national diploma in engineering obtained at a University of Technology. Applications from persons holding accredited qualifications, including those already registered as candidate engineering technicians, will not be subjected to a detailed evaluation of their qualifications. All applicants should at least have had 3 years of post-qualification training and experience before an application will be considered for registration. The assessment process is as follows. An application is administratively checked for completeness. If incomplete, the applicant is advised of the deficiency, which must be rectified as soon as possible. Assuming that an applicant's qualification is recognized, the process of evaluating the applicant's training and experience starts. The number of applications received every month are divided in equal halves and submitted to 2 subcommittees at least 1 month before a meeting. The members of these subcommittees advise the administration of their findings and recommendations, and the files are prepared for discussion at the meetings. If a committee is unanimous in finding that an applicant is registerable, the committee's decision is reported to the next meeting of the full registration committee, which consists of the 2 subcommittees. But the registration is immediately effected by the administration, and the applicant is advised accordingly. If a committee is not satisfied that an applicant is registerable, the application is referred to the other subcommittee for consideration at its next meeting. This second committee considers the application without prior knowledge of the first committee's decision. If it transpires that the second committee's decision coincides with the first committee's decision, the collective decision is implemented by the administration. If the decisions are contrary to each other, the 2 committees discuss the matter jointly. Each committee is at liberty to obtain such further information as it may require, or to have an interview with the candidate before a decision is made. If the joint decision is to refuse an application, the full registration committee makes a recommendation to the Central Registration Committee for ratification. It is the responsibility of the Central Registration Committee to ensure that all the registration committees under its structure have applied their minds thoroughly to the merits of each applicant. I have already made videos on how much chemical and civil engineers make here in South Africa. I will link those videos at the end of this video and in the description below. There are quite a number of other engineering fields in existence, and so I will make salary videos on those as well, so feel free to subscribe to the channel to be notified when I release those videos. And finally, that's it you guys, thanks for watching, do check out my other videos, and as always, mischief managed.